Hello, sweet souls. This is DTO in the Flow. And today I get to interview Jonny Joon, a Los Angeles native producer, composer, and artist. And we're going to begin by having you listen to a song called Hours.
Let it all go. Let it all go. Surrender control. Everything is ours. Let it all go. You can trust the universe and watch it unfold. Everything is ours. Look up at a star, ain't she beautiful? It's your time to shine like the light that you are. Look up at the sun, feel it on your skin. That energy is yours for the taking.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a gentleman that has graduated from Berkeley, and he spent the last 15 years working professionally, composing thousands of pieces as a composer, producer, and songwriter. In addition to his creative skills, he is a talented sound designer and recording engineer. He has worked alongside world-class artists, including a 13-year relationship working hand in hand on both albums and films with renowned composer and artist Stanley Clarke, for whom Jonathan is his go-to music producer and engineer. He has been a part of a multiple Grammy Award-winning and nominated projects, including the Stanley Clarke Band, which won for Best Contemporary Jazz Album in 2010. His production of the compositionally intensive album Hear It in My Heart won Best World Music category at the 2017 Global Peace Song Awards. His original music has been included on multiple television shows, including on networks such as we have ABC, Netflix, E! Entertainment, BET, TV1, TBS, In Contempt, Def Comedy Jam, 25. We have Bad Girls Club, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Real Husbands of Hollywood, and the list goes on and on. So this is such an extraordinary pleasure for me to get to bring on Jonny Joon. And without further ado, here is Jonny Joon. Hello, Jonny. How are you?
Hey, what's up, DTO? Thank you so much for having me on with you. Great to be
You're
here.
welcome.
What an introduction.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I do
I'm very
want to
impressed
clarify, thank you. I do want to clarify one thing, and that's that I have been working with Stanley Clarke for a time, but I wouldn't. Hello? How's you? Sorry. I wouldn't necessarily call myself his go-to anything. He's got a lot of people on his team. But we are very close, and we've worked on a lot of projects together. So
That's fantastic. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great to see. Okay, so my first question for you, as everyone can see, is why music? Explain.
Why music? Okay. Can you see me, by the way? Because I am frozen on my screen.
Okay.
So I just want to check in. Okay, cool. It looks like I'm moving around a little bit, but I'll just answer the question. So why music? Well, because to be honest with you, that's a really hard question. But, well, no, actually it's not. Because it's what makes me happy, because it's what gives me joy, because it's how I process my pain, and it's therapy, really, for me. And it's just the thing that lights me up more than anything else in the world. So I started a really, really long time ago, and it's always felt like kind of a singular focus for me throughout my life. Even, I actually don't even remember like the first time I felt moved by music, or I felt like music was going to be my purpose, because I was so young when it happened. So I could have been somewhat inundated into this sort of arena, to some degree, but I'm really happy that I was, because it's been extremely beneficial, and it's been this major gift that has been given to me, and I just want to share it as much as I can. Yeah. Are you there, DTO?
I am. That's wonderful. Yeah. So let's go to our question about instruments, because I know that you and I have spoken off camera several times. And what instruments do you play? And let people know that maybe haven't produced music before, what we could consider an instrument to be.
Right. So I primarily play the piano. That was kind of my whole introduction into music when I was a child. I was lucky, and my parents gave me piano lessons when I was really young. And I'm still in touch with my first piano teacher till this day. We get together and have coffee from time to time. I play a couple of other instruments like guitar and the drum set. And I used to be in bands as like a bass player or a drummer and things like that. But piano is really the main one for me. And I'm a bit of an instrument collector. And if I could move my
Yes.
camera around, I'd show you I've got a bunch of different instruments, because I just love having instruments around me. They're extremely inspiring. I have a gamelan from Indonesia. I've got a lap harp. I've got an Iranian setar, and a few others like an oud and things like that. I don't necessarily play them all very well, but I love having them around me. But apart from that, I play computers and synthesizers, and I have one of my synthesizers right here. This is a new acquisition. Actually, it's a Moog One. It's a very, very powerful machine, analog synthesizer that uses tones that you can manipulate with filters and envelopes and various different effects and modules to create synthesized sound. So I definitely consider that to be an instrument. And then the computer too, very, very powerful instrument. And a huge part of how I make music, which is fundamentally electronic at its core. So yeah, I'd say piano, synthesizers, and computers are the main ones for me.
Excellent. And we have someone that just commented, Joel, you can see on the screen.
Yeah.
Lots of chi to you, brother. That's awesome.
Hey, what's up, Joel? Nice to meet you,
Awesome.
Joel.
Yeah. And thank you for
Sure.
everyone that is watching on the live stream and also on the archive. So our next question is, what's your role in the music industry?
Right. Well, I mean, primarily the thing that gives me the most joy is working with other artists and essentially creating music with them. And that's kind of turned into what I spend most of my time doing. And basically what that entails is an artist coming to me with, either a song in mind. They might have lyrics, they might have melody, they might not have anything, but they, put their trust in me to create sort of the landscape, the bed of music that's going to support that song. So that's something that gives me a lot of joy, because I'm able to tap into different genres, different moods. I don't feel quite as limited to one particular style, which is something that sometimes I feel is necessary as an artist, not to be too rich and varied in your approach. So that really gives me a chance to do a lot of different things. So I work on like world music records a lot. I did a gospel record last year. I worked on a lot of jazz fusion records and a lot of sort of like female vocal driven, sensual, chill music. But apart from that, I mean, I kind of dabble in a bunch of different things. I have a production company called Here Color Music, and we do a lot of licensing to film and scores and stuff like that. And what I'm really trying to focus a lot more of my energy to these days is my own personal artistry. And that's basically Jonny Joon. That's my music that I create as a solo artist and I release. And, up until this point, actually up until like last August, September, I didn't really have very much to show artistry. I mean, I've got hundreds of songs that I've written or, completed even, but never really released. And I kind of had enough of myself, You know, I was
Yeah.
like, that's it. You know, I can't continue to allow my music just to live in a hard drive. And so
Yeah,
I
that's
set the
true.
intention. Yeah, I set the intention in September per month. Um, Throughout the remainder of 2019 and throughout 2020, and I've thankfully lived up to that goal so far, and I intend on continuing. Um, but it's been something that's actually, it's kind of like a bold move for me, for myself, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and the music that I create is extremely detail oriented. So it's not the type of music that is, you know, written, produced in like a 2 or 3 day time span. You know what I mean? It generally takes a lot longer for me to do that, which is one of the reasons why not a lot of it has seen the light of day in the public eye. But I've been kind of feeling this opening, or whatever you want to call it. Something's been changing in my psyche, and I feel like I'm able to get my own ideas out in a lot more sort of efficient and effective way. And I'm learning how to let go, which is basically the main uh, sort of concept or theme of my last song, which is Ours. You know, like one of the lyrics is "Let it all go." It's actually the main lyric, and I've learned a lot from that lyric because I'm often in a space of sort of like obsessing over small details, and it could be a bit paralyzing at times. So I kind of go and I listen to that song, and it reminds me. It's like, wait a minute, you wrote this song. This is what you should be doing. Follow your own advice. And
Totally.
you know, since I wrote that song, I think things have been changing for me in a major way. So
Yeah,
releasing my
that's
own
that
music as
whole
an artist, yeah,
the art reflecting
yeah. So
life and
releasing
life
my music,
reflecting art, right?
totally, totally. Um, so yeah, I mean, a main focal point right now for me is releasing music as an artist, and you know, just having a better balance, creating a better balance between, you know, working with artists, which is something that I truly love doing, but also, you know, creating music that is just really 100% from my heart without any direction from somebody else, and giving that some weight as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, that leads us into question 4. What are your current projects?
Well, there's the Jonny Joon project. That is a current project for me. And I have my next, I guess it would be 11 releases already planned out. They're in various different stages, but I have a song that I'm releasing every single month. They're a bit varied, but they all kind of have a similar undertone to them. And and I'm really taking it very seriously. So, you know, I've got a song coming out on the 13th called Rise in Love that I've done with a dear friend of mine who goes by the moniker Savant Tali. Her real name is Talia Benson, for those of you who know her. And we've been creating some music together for a little while. Apart from that, I have various projects going on with other artists. Some of you might know them. Tony Moss is one of them. Daniela White, who goes by Yellow Cat, is another. Stanley Clark and some of his crew, Chris Clark, Natasha Agrama, David Daniel Brown. You know, it's a really potent time for music right now, and I feel like I could name drop for a little while, but essentially, like, there's a lot of different music coming out, and I'm truly very excited about every single one of the projects that are happening right now. So I feel very grateful in that regard. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's this big like creative renaissance happening with so many producers that I know
Oh,
of, and it's amazing, right?
yeah. Also, for those of you who might know this guy his name is Ben Templestep. Used to go by the Templestep Project, but now he's Ben Templestep or Templestep, and him and I are working on a song together too. That's pretty wild and definitely meant for the dance floor. So I'm super excited for that one too.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're going to play one of your songs right now for people to listen in on. And we played a segment of the song, and so we're going to play most of this one. Do you want to set the song up, the one you did with Natasha?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. This is a song that's just very special to me. I wrote it like 4 years ago, when I was in a very transformative period of my life. I was heartbroken, and I decided I can't be in LA anymore. And I left LA with a one-way ticket, and I went to Indonesia, to Bali specifically, and I spent a great deal of time there writing music and connecting with new people. And I wrote that song there. And you know, at first I was actually singing the whole song, and but when I got back, I really felt like it needed a female lead. And Natasha is somebody that I've worked with in the past. She's an amazing singer and performer. And so I asked her, and she was really excited about it. And just kind of over about a year time span, the song evolved into what it is right now. And actually, funny story, and this kind of speaks to my perfectionistic tendencies. I actually released the song for the first time more than a year ago, but I wasn't happy with the final product. So I only released it on SoundCloud, and I made a promise to myself that I would work on it some more and then finally distribute it on all of the platforms. And 2020 was kind of around the bend. It occurred to me like I better have this song out by the new year, because I don't want this just to go sour for me. So, and that's kind of what started the whole 1 month per one song per month thing. So yeah, it's just a song about letting go and being with what is, and it's yummy and juicy, and I've been getting a lot of feedback on it. So that's it. Ours.
Okay, here it comes.
Can you hear it? Okay. Hey Dave, can you hear the song?
Okay. Let me restart.
Could you hear that?
Yeah, let me restart it in case you can't hear it. Let me utilize Spotify actually. Just a moment.
Sure.
Here we go. Okay, play from your Spotify.
Look up at the star, ain't you beautiful? It's your time to shine like the light that you are. Look up at the sun, feel it on your skin. That energy is yours for the taking.
Lead into my spirit if you wanna go deep. Take me to the moon like the solid sea. Breathe into your life like you'll turn into smoke. Give it to the universe and let it all go. Lead into my spirit if you wanna go deep. Take me to the moon like the solid sea. Breathe into your life like you'll turn into smoke. Give it to the universe and let it all go. Give it to the universe and let it all go. Give it to the universe and let it all go. Give it to the universe and let it all go. Give it to the universe and let it all go.
Let it all go. See how life flows, embrace the unknown. Everything is ours. When you let it all go, you let it all grow. Give it to the universe and watch it unfold. everything is ours. Look up at the sky, it'll get you high. Drop into your heart if you're wondering why. Ours. Breathe into the raindrops dripping on your skin. Sing into the silence.
Bleed into my spirit if you wanna go deep. Take me to the moon like the soul that you see. Breathe into your life like you're turning to smoke. Give it to the universe and let it all go. Bleed into my spirit if you wanna go deep. Drink me to the moon like the soul that you see. Breathe into your life like you're turning to smoke. Give it to the universe and let it all go.
I am the universe becoming conscious of itself and all that I am. I am the universe becoming conscious of itself and all that I am. I am the universe becoming conscious of itself and all that I am. I am the universe becoming conscious of itself and all that I am.
Wow, that's really powerful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, fantastic. Really loved your vocals. And you said originally you laid all the vocals and then you brought in the Natasha later.
Yes. Yeah. Originally, I was singing the whole song, and that was back when I was in Bali, and when I got back to LA, it occurred to me that the song would benefit not only from a female voice, but somebody who, quite frankly, is a lot more skilled than I am as a vocalist. You know, so yeah, that's Natasha was like the first person I thought of, and gladly she was like super into the song, so we spent some time in the studio.
Well,
Yeah,
both of you
it was
just
awesome.
It was really great synergy. I really enjoyed the balance of both vocals coming in and out, and the layers. And
thank you.
Yeah, really great production.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, actually, we're talking right now about doing another one of my songs. So we're doing that, and actually talking. She has a record coming out too that I'm going to be getting involved in as well. So there's some work happening with Natasha right now. She's super talented, and she's got her own music out. I definitely recommend people checking out. She's amazing.
Awesome. Well, let's set up the next one. So here we go. Go ahead and share about Rise in Love.
Okay. Rise in Love. Rise in Love is about it's about loving but with a gentle grasp. You know, it's also kind of about letting go too. It's about the ebb and flow of relationships, you know. It's about loving without the need to possess or own. And coincidentally, it also is a song that was originally written about 4 or 5 years ago. Back when I was in Bali, I had linked up with a dear friend of mine, Talia Sabantelli, in Goa after my trip to Bali, and we spent a couple of weeks there writing music together. And it's been a very slow process working together because we're generally not in the same city. She spends a lot of time in India touring as a singer. So, you know, whenever we've had the chance to kind of link up, we'll get together and write some music together, or work on the songs that we have going on. So yeah, Rise in Love, I'm super excited about it. And this is the song that I have coming out on the 13th of this month. So
fantastic.
I think this will be the first time that anybody really hears it online.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah.
Here it is. Rise in Love.
The drop of a dime, our eyes lock in time. And the movement of oceans is flooding my mind. the drop of a dime, our eyes lock in time. And the movement of oceans is flooding my mind. Your magic is fire. The day you came into view, my pain just expired. I felt so inspired. There ain't no way to deny it. It's 'cause of you. It's the truth. Now together we plan, our feet in the dirt, and now together we stand and walk this earth. Ain't gonna be easy all the time, but it's in our control. Don't have to be prepared. Come on, let's roll. Be mine. It don't mean you gotta be prepared. In time, it's the lessons that we share. You'll find. So your choice, make your destiny divine. Let your power set us free. Be mine. It don't mean you gotta be prepared. In time, it's the lessons that we share. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Meeting you will always be my favorite dream. Open up, let me in your everything. Having trust in us is all I'll ever need. Let's take over the world together, baby.
All the lessons that I've learned is something that I thought I'd never earn. It's 'cause of you. You gave me youth, the freedom to choose love, to rise above all the shit, never quit, even when you think you were ill with it. Take a dip into the ocean of devotion, emotional potion floating and coasting.
Wow. Really enjoyed that one. I started to.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Just like the
Thank
beat
you.
came in, I was just feeling it. I have these really great headphones, so the bass was like boom. Boom.
Nice, awesome. Good to know.
Yeah. So
Sweet.
this
Yeah,
is
thank you for sharing that.
yeah, absolutely. I'm grateful that everyone could enjoy that, which leads us into our question number 5, our last question. Where does inspiration come from?
Oh boy. Yeah, inspiration. So I think that right now my inspiration is coming from my desire uh, to spread the things that I've learned, I guess, in some way, with other people through music. You know, I mean, like my inspiration used to come from something completely different when I was a lot younger. It used to come from a place of pain, generally, a place of despair, fear, and trauma, and things like that. And when I was younger, like in my more sort of emo music days,
Yeah.
you know, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of pain in the music that I was creating, and also a lot of pain in the music that I was collaborating on with other musicians. And I'm not saying that that's gone like away or anything like that. I mean, I think that, you know, to be an authentic artist, you do need to tap into the pain and express that and be real with that. But I think at a certain point, I realized that like pain had a monopoly on my music. And
Yeah.
I intended on changing that, you know, and I actually got connected with a group of people who are very invested in medicine work and in, you know, sort of mind expanding experiences, without getting too detailed on that. And I started, you know, becoming a part of this community and various communities alike. And I realized that one of the things that was so inspiring for me was a lot of the music that they all played together and created came from love, and it came from joy, and it came from, you know, bliss, and it was very, very upbeat and nourishing, I guess, for my soul. And so there was born the idea, you know, or the intention for me to create from that space. And I mean, I think that, you know, in a more general way, just inspiration just comes from everywhere to some degree. I mean, I definitely feel like I'm inspired a lot by my romantic relationships is a big sort of like, you know, theme I think most of my songs right now that I have out are really songs about love, romantic love, to some degree or another. The song that I have out called Yujin is somewhat different in that regard, but also about love, love for oneself. But it was spawned from a experience I had in ceremony, in psychedelic ceremony, where things were so difficult in the ceremony. Things were so beautiful in the ceremony that it was scary to some degree. It was scary how beautiful. It was overwhelming. And as I was kind of researching about various things, I stumbled upon this concept, Yujin, which in Japanese is essentially like, it's an experience so beautiful you can't really describe it using language, And so I wanted to capture that feeling that I was experiencing in ceremony with musical tones and frequencies and stuff like that. So that's what inspired that song. So yeah, I mean, I think that inspiration just kind of comes and goes. I have a dog. His name is Tango. He's deeply inspiring for me. I actually did kind of like a sort of like a comedic satire song about Tango using Robin, what's his name? Robin something. His Hey 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 song. Who's the guy who made that? Robin something. Hey Hey Hey. Anyways, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Robin
it was
Thicke.
the rip off.
That's what it was.
He got sued.
Robin.
That was a rip off of a song from the 70s.
Marvin
but yeah,
Gaye. Yeah, it was a rip off of a Marvin Gaye song.
Yeah,
Well,
they
when
went
he
to
came
court
out
on that
with
one.
that, I actually did like a comedic satire thing.
Good.
But rather than being about girls, it was about dogs.
Oh, great.
I have it, and it's also one of the many songs that I have on my hard drive that I've never released. But
like a parody song.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, it was a parody song, and
what's your dog's vocal range?
Very, very, very narrow to lower.
How many octaves?
Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, I actually have like a parody music project that I don't put a lot of time into, but the name is Jonny Juice, and he's like a rapper. He's a rapper, and he raps about absurd stuff, or he makes fun about things that are not absurd, but in a way that is absurd. Like I have a song out called the Juice Song, which is all about juice. It's about juice, really. But if you remember, Dave Chappelle had a skit where he talked about grape juice and how black people don't drink grape juice, they drink purple drink, and he has this hilarious skit on that, and I sampled a little part of that, which I won't say because it's pretty explicit, and and I used it in the song, and then I kind of like riffed off of that idea and stuff. So
right on.
That's kind of like another face of Jonny Joon, just more comedic parody music and stuff like that. And Tango definitely ties into that for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And as people are viewing right now, you could see all your synthesizers, all your toys, and a lot of people that play music, like as a child. Like I grew up classically trained on piano, got into drums, guitars, and then like you and I both, we have this commonality where we got into digital audio workstations. And so a lot of people don't realize, as you gave that clear example, you could take a sample of Dave Chappelle or any little, statement from any place, a movie clip or a famous line, a quote, and then you just drop it into your digital audio workstation. And remind people, especially producers that might be watching this, which one are you more of a specialist in?
Yeah, I mean, I primarily use Logic, but I also use, Ableton Live, and I use Pro Tools, project dependent, but mostly I'm very familiar with Logic. That's the one I feel most comfortable in.
Yeah. And my jam is Ableton. I teach classes and I have a whole learning institute for Ableton. But what a lot of people may not know is like, you just take a file from your desktop, put it in, you create a loop. Good friend of mine, his artist name is Castek. He did a really famous, went pretty viral, where he took a little clip and he looped it, and then it was one of those things, a gentleman's on TV and like the house is on fire and he's saying something outrageous, and so he grabbed something like that kind of went viral in the news world, and then it went there. And we have a comment here from Celeste. Inspiration is the magic wand of creation.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
I like that a lot.
Thanks for logging on with us, Celeste. Nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
That's beautiful.
And Himalaya loved the sound of the artist that we just listened to as well. So
Nice,
yeah,
awesome. Thank you so much.
yeah, of
Yeah.
Savant Tali. So thank you for her
Savant
for
Tali, yeah, like it's amazing what you can do with computers. You know, I mean, it's like there's so much untapped potential, and I have a lot of fun just trying to design new soundscapes and new sounds. You know, either using traditional sort of like subtractive synthesis, which is like something like
yeah,
this keyboard that I have here, or using tools that are a little bit more ethereal and maybe even more complex in a way and less understood to some degree, you know, like granular synthesis and stuff like that, which is
yeah,
basically, you know, you're able to like chop up source content into very, very tiny little pieces and manipulate those tiny little pieces independently of one another and create something completely new out of the content that you feed into it. So like something like Eugen, which is like this soundscape thing that I did a couple of months ago that I put out, like all of that really came from other audio files that I fed into this program, and I created these beautiful textures. You know, I could take something that is like 5 seconds long and turn it into something that's ultimately as long as I want it to be. I mean, it can go on forever. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And so there's just so many cool things that you can do right now in music. I've actually thought about maybe starting a little channel where I share some of the ways that I create and stuff like that, but in due time, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially I think a lot of people that know us are creative in some form of artistic expression, and many people are musicians, producers, engineers, composers, and so I guarantee there'd be a demand for you and I talking shop, or for you to have a YouTube channel, and myself as well, where just demo, like show how we create what we're able to do. And because we're all going to have our own unique signature sound. Like there's so many different ingredients to the juice.
Hmm.
Right,
For
you
sure.
can make
Yeah.
a juice that's just simply apple, ginger, and pineapple, right? Or you can make something a little more, you know 10 different ingredients. And so some producers, and I'm sure Jonny Joon, you'll say the same for me, as you, is where sometimes you're creating a project in Logic or Ableton, and you're counting, you're like, oh my gosh, I have 50 plus channels in this, so you can go on and on. It's like the never ending gobstopper. So
Yeah. No, I love watching and learning from other artists. I mean, I think that right now, a lot of people say that like, the 60s and the 70s were like kind of like the golden era of music. But
yeah,
I disagree. I think that 60s and 70s, 80s and 90s were all amazing decades, and
totally.
50s too, with music. So much beautiful stuff came out there, especially when it comes to songwriting. But right now, I think is an
Yeah,
incredible time to be an avid listener of music, because there's just such a breadth of material out there. There's so many unique things that people
yeah,
are doing that they had that they weren't able to do even 10 years ago. And I'm just constantly impressed,
yeah,
constantly impressed at the level of like mastery that I see with music from people all around the world, and that's a major source of inspiration to me too, kind of tapping into that question
absolutely.
about inspiration. I mean, like, I will oftentimes hear something, and the first thing that I think is like, I want to know how that was done. And so it
Mm,
becomes my like mission to try to dissect it and almost like, yeah, I just like dissect it and try to learn, like reverse engineer it in a way, and try to learn like, how did this producer create this, sound? How did this producer create this rhythm? How did this song, composer create this harmony? You know what I mean? Things like that. And there's
totally.
just so much to learn from right now. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, and what's awesome, I
It's
know
like a
you and
bless. It's like a blessing. It's like a blessing and a curse, because you can't like
yeah.
like as a musician, you can't really listen to things like without analyzing them. Like that's I'm constantly analyzing things all the time. Most of my own music, I'm always analyzing. But
Yeah,
even other music, I'm just like, I'm listening to it like a producer. I'd be curious to have the experience of listening to something not like a musician one day, which I don't know if is possible.
yeah, I
But
mean,
if there was like a machine that could put me in the brain of
yeah.
somebody else, I would try it. you know?
Totally. I think everyone craves for objectivity because we,
Yeah.
you know, we get so close to every project, and it's so many um, touches, whether it's a touch on the keyboard, whether it's on your computer, whether, as you mentioned, it's global and world. Like all my albums, I've had a cellist. In the last album, Christine Sear, she recorded everything from Radiant Energy in a sound studio in Sicily. And we just
Wow.
Googled
Yeah.
recording studios, Sicily. I got this location, had a conversation with the engineer, PayPal, they converted to euros. They mic'd the cello, and, they had like 4 different microphones, put it up in Dropbox. And then, as we're sharing with people that may not know how the process works. So at that point, Jonny Joon and myself and any producer, you just grab that widget, that WAV file, and then you import it into your project. Now you have this whole other, in the recipe of it, what the ingredients are. Now we've added that, which then inspires us to then take it to this whole other, it's a living organism, right? It's this whole flow that music has.
Totally. And I'm super impressed with you. I mean, you're so prolific with your music. Like, when I've checked out your music, you have just so much music out, which is, I mean, that's not easy to do, I mean, that is a skill in and of itself. And I'm trying to learn that skill, master it for myself, because I do plan on putting lots and lots of music out. But
here's my most
about.
recent project that many people know.
Nice.
And so this is the one I was just sharing about, how it's a 5-song project, and each song has a different collaborator, different vocalist, and different instruments. And really, it comes down to like what it is that you as a producer, as a creator, want to have. And I think that this is a great moment to throw in this again. Inspiration is the magic wand, right, of creation. And what we're doing is we're creating. And actually, the home where I'm in right now, where Himalaya and I live, we named it the Creative Casa. So it's about allowing for, that creativity within us to flow. And then I know that earlier in the interview, you mentioned the word being a perfectionist. So then how do you wrangle the whole, like, I'm so creative, I got all these ideas and I'm so inspired but it's got to be perfect. How do you, it's almost like, they're almost opposing sides, right?
Yeah.
I deal with it as well. I'm just curious. Well, I deal with it all the time. And I mean, I could quickly answer. I'll just say, like what you did with your last song, you just got to let it all go at some point. However you can arrive to objectivity. Like for me, my personal jam is practicing yoga. And it's always amazing when I'm in a yoga studio. I pretty much live in 2 locations, music studios and yoga studios. And many times someone will have me on their playlist. I may not even have met the yoga instructor, and I'll be in Shavasana and I'll just be like blissed out. And all of a sudden one of my songs comes on, and it's this tendency. I almost tell myself consciously, like, don't listen to it as though I created it. Just listen to it as for the sake of listening to it. It's like that, that whole Zen philosophy. Like, why are you washing the dishes? What's the answer? I'm washing the dishes because I'm washing the dishes. And that's it. There's like an endless loop, and you don't have to analyze it. And so when you can have that objectivity, or as you said, you've had these experiences, almost these out of body psychedelic experiences, where all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I get to witness my music or my life or my purpose from a whole other angle. Hence, I can move forward on my pathway of creating what's the highest expression of who I am. And as you said, now we have 2 main things. We have acoustic organic instruments, which have been around for the history of time. Now we have all this technology, and we can warp, and we can reverse a sound wave, and we can, you can have a vocalist. A lot of times in EDM tracks, it's this super low voice, or it's this chipmunky voice, or as you said, maybe Tango can do some lyrics on your next one. But yeah, it's phenomenal.
I've recorded Tango on my tracks, actually. So,
that's awesome. Totally.
For sure. No, I totally agree. I mean, and I think that there's a lot of things that a creative can do to bring objectivity to the space, and mind expanding experience is definitely one of them. Like, whether it be through the use of entheogens and psychedelics, I truly believe in the power and potency of certain medicines, and and other things like yoga and breath work and meditation and taking time away. I mean, I remember, there was a period of time where I didn't like going to piano lessons when I was really young, and it just took me like kind of taking a break from that for about 6 months, 7 months to just feel like completely refueled and dedicated to piano again. So sometimes with music production, it's like, this is like I've lost objectivity. I want a new perspective. Maybe I just like table this for a little while and I come back to it in a week or in a month, or in the case of hours, in a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done that.
It really helps.
So have you done that before where I jokingly call it digital dust, where you create something, it's on your hard drives, in the archive, it's in the cloud, stored somewhere. My clear example is a track that I did with Kyoshi. He's a part of Buddha Music Group. And we have this song called Bliss on our most recent album. And it was a song that I originally wrote 7 years ago when we first met. He came in the studio. Krista Richards is a vocalist that I've collaborated with. Says, hey, I met Kyoshi. He's a hip hop conscious artist. Hey, we're in the studio. Let's make it happen. Just all of a sudden the synergy was there. And I had this song, it was in C minor. Da, da, na, 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 na. It just had this whole like hypnotic riff to it. And then when I was creating this, new album, Radiant Energy, I was like, hey, Kyoshi, remember that track? He goes, yeah, I remember that. Okay. The lyrics that you wrote at the time, there's some like breakup song at the time. It's like, it's not about that. It's about bliss. It's Anandamaya Kosh, because it's the 5 koshas. And then we had Jay Brave, he's based in LA like you are.
Love him. He's great.
Yeah. He and Kyoshi did like an A-B back and forth rap. And
nice.
It was awesome. And then Jamie Shadowlight's amazing violinist. And we have a vocalist, Courtney Govan, who Himalaya met. She was busking on the streets of San Diego. And basically Himalaya gave her my card, like, you got to meet DTO as a producer and let's work with him. And this was our first time in the studio. And so, as you said, like the golden age of music, I think that we're in this whole other era of what's possible by adding in so many different components. And remember, we have this global connectivity where, as I mentioned earlier, you can work with artists in any different country. Actually, I just began a project with gentleman, Song of Eden, and he's out of Sweden. And, we connected on Instagram. He creates music specifically for yoga. And so he recently did a remix with DJ Taz Rashid. And so there's all these ways, like world music. And many people have listened to my music. You listen to the mantras and the different languages. I have 2 songs in Spanish. And if you watch the Super Bowl, you know that Español es muy importante, right? And so there's this whole like merge of like, and you said how many different instruments? You said, sitar, and you had some other Eastern instruments.
I mean, I have a lot of different instruments. I'm like a hobbyist instrument collector, but I mean, I don't necessarily intend on learning all of them. I just love having them around, and they're like pieces of beautiful art to me. I feel inspired when I'm around them,
Fantastic.
But I mean, no, I totally like resonate with everything that you're saying, and I've had songs that have been revived after many, many, many years, of kind of just being on my hard drive. And I think that also another way of sort of gaining, just to speak back to our kind of a little bit earlier in our conversation, like gaining objectivity or is having a support system, as an artist, people that you can talk to and run your ideas by. And I certainly know that I've got like certain people in my life and I want this circle to grow, but that I feel like I can go to, one of them was like one of my best friends of like 16 years. His name is Adam Durr. I've known him forever. Nice. I know that I can send him a song and be like, what do you think about this? And he's going to give me real, like unfiltered advice. And if he thinks that it's, lacking in some area, he'll let me know, so, just having that too. Yeah. Could be super helpful.
Absolutely. And just like if anyone out there is an author of a book, like you would never create your first draft of the book, only have you see it and then put it to print. That doesn't work. And the same analogy is for musicians and producers. Like you have another draft, you have another version, you have an editor that looks at it. Sometimes there's multiple editors that take a peek at it, and then they can give you that input that then allows you to, there's 4 steps of communication, right? There's the sender, there's the message, there's the receiver, and there's the feedback. And so we crave this, to have a feedback loop where we get to understand different people that hear it. And I have that magic number 3 where I love to have at least 3 people as you said, that unfiltered, raw, just tell me like your gut feeling, like what happened there, or even if it's little things. I have a few, I'll call them micro detailed producers, where they'll be like, oh my gosh, at like 37 seconds in my left ear, I heard this thing. And I go back.
That's
and I'm
me.
like, yeah.
That's me right there.
Totally great. And then we need that. And then there's people that have like
Absolutely.
the overview, like, hey, here's the arrangement. It felt like the song could have ended a minute earlier. And that's actually the song Bliss. I actually wanted to come back because that song Bliss that we already know tons of people that are collaborators on that song. It was interesting because it's like a mix of like a reggae song, a rap song, and a rock song. I love those three genres of music. I just kind of put it into one big sandwich. And essentially I wanted to have like this big, powerful ending. And then I think it was Jay Breve that mentioned, because we have a group thread, and he's like, let's just end it like at this beautiful violin at the end. And I cut it off there. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Less is more. It was perfect. It was already like a 5-minute song already. And so that's where it comes into, like, there's arrangement, there's the micro details, and then there's that, whole energy of what you're creating. And when I was first introduced, and we definitely have to give a shout out to Jared, because he's the one who
for sure
in
100%.
connection.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, thank you, Jared. We'll definitely, and he's an awesome producer as well. And when he shared with me your song Yugen, that was powerful because and I know you have it listed under ambient. It's beautiful. It's like 3 minutes, straightforward. And where can people find that song? Is that out on all the
That's
apps?
basically everywhere. That one's everywhere. Yeah. Thank you for asking. And just to let you know, it's less than 3 minutes. It's like 2 minutes and 40 something seconds. And one of the main critiques that I got back from people after I released that was like, dude, why is it so short? So I actually put an extended version out as well. That's 11 minutes, 11 seconds long.
Wow.
And it's out there. So you can really go and do a little deep dive to it too.
Okay. So I put it on the screen for everyone to see. And as anyone that's watching this is being live streamed on a multitude of platforms. It's out on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook groups, Facebook business pages. So if you see, no one's going to memorize this. If you can, then you're a micro detailed analyzer, which we need you on our team. But this is a link you could click directly on if you go to the comments. Or as I just mentioned, there are 3 songs that we've been able to go through as far as to listen to. But what we'll do is, first song was Ours, second song was Rise in Love. And then the song we're referencing right here, as you said, there's a less than 3 minute version. And can you give the quick version? Because I know that some people don't understand the 440, 432, what are hertz?
Right. Sure. Just like a quick description of that. Well, yeah. So most Western music is tuned to 440 hertz. That means instruments, the A note in an instrument is tuned to 440. But in Eastern music, that's not necessarily the case. They work with different notes, different scales, microtones, different tunings. And, after some people did some research, apparently, what people found was that 440 introduces a number of enharmonic partials to the sound that essentially like reduce its clarity or reduce its purity. So if you look at a song that is fundamentally tuned to A440 through an oscilloscope, you're going to see all this noise. Okay, you're going to see all these partials that are not necessarily rooted in the key of the song. But if you tune to a different tuning like 432, and there's various others like 450, and there's a bunch of others, some of those partials get reduced, and it's like a pure, more natural tone. So that's basically what that comes from. I know a lot of people have been producing music in 432, releasing music in 432. Certainly a lot of meditation or yoga music is produced in 432 because, it's more soothing to the body and more soothing to the spirit. I think that there's a fair bit of science behind that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So in the one to the right, you can see there's all this noise and all these enharmonic partials, and enharmonic being they're not actually rooted in the key of the song. They have no real relationship to the notes. Yeah, right. And on the left, it's a lot more uniform, right? Like you can see a shape there. Okay, and what that tells us is that the notes and the frequencies actually have a more direct relationship to the fundamental note of that tone or of that song, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully that's like simplified way of hearing it. I don't know how well I did that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's great. It's awesome.
I actually have a
Well,
friend. His name
excellent.
is
Well,
Josh Brill. I have a friend that Josh Brill, and
oh,
he's
I
got
know
a
Joshua
Facebook
Bro.
group for anybody.
Yeah,
You know Joshua Brill? Yeah, so he's got a
I
Facebook
do.
group
We're all
that's
connected. You know
all
how it is.
about 432. Yeah. So if you're really interested, you can go check out his Facebook group, and he's got a lot of information on 432.
Okay, so
Yeah.
432. I'll put that up on the screen. So just if you just type in 432, Joshua Brill. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of parting words do you have that you'd like to share with people? Because I know one of your questions were, what are your current projects? What are your upcoming projects? How can people follow you online? I'm posting right now for everyone to see. Jonny Joon Music is on Instagram, website, and do you do a lot of performances in LA? Do you? Where
I
can
do
people
some
find you
performances
online?
Yeah, at Jonny Joon Music or at Jonny Joon are going to be the kind of gateways to me. My website, johnnyjoon.com, links to all of my social accounts. So if you were to go there, you could find basically my presence anywhere online that is valuable. Herecolormusic.com is my production website for music that I produce for other artists or that I work on with other artists. And I
Nice.
guess my parting words would just be thank you to you, DTO, for doing this with me. I feel I'm just very grateful that you and I have been connecting, and very grateful to Jared for introducing us with one another, and just really inspired by what you're doing. This platform is amazing, and I'm glad we were able to do this, and I hope we can do this a lot more. And the only other thing that I'd say is my song Rise in Love comes out on the 13th. And I have a pre-save campaign going on. Some people might know, some people might not. But you can pre-save a song on Spotify, and that actually really, really helps the artist because the more people that pre-save, the more Spotify's algorithm recognizes potency in that artist account. So if anybody's down to support my own musical journey and also like be some of the first to hear the song when it comes out, I would love if you were to go to and pre-save the song. I'm including a link in the comments of our Facebook Live so that you can go there and pre-save the song. And if you're not connected on Facebook Live, if you were to go to my Instagram account and click the link in my Instagram about section area, it links straight to the pre-save. And for anybody who wants to take an extra step and get connected with me, send me a DM, and I'm happy to send you guys a secret link of the song to listen to before it releases. Just send me a DM on Facebook, send me a DM on Instagram, whatever. Just let me know that you're interested to hear it in its full glory on your headphones, and I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome. Well, that's very generous, and I appreciate all that you have to share. And from your bio, you've been in the industry for quite a long time. You've worked different genres with jazz, world music, and working and collaborating with different artists and talent. And it feels to me like this is just the beginning. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. It better be.
That's how I feel as well. And, as prolific as we can be, it's really about like delivering consistently and really being aligned with what it is that we have to offer. And for people that aren't following me, I'm DTO Music. You can pretty much find me anywhere out there. And I'm a marketing director as well as the artist for Buddha Music Group. And our slogan is raising the vibrations of the planet through art and music. And this is one of the reasons why Jonny Joon and I really connect, because he is exactly, creating that vibration out there. And the moment I heard his music that Jared shared with me, it was like, okay, we're here, we're in the same frequency, and really understanding the power of what music can create for us, right? It can inspire us. It can have us, want to get on the dance floor. It can have us tear up. It could have us have a memory. It could also just pull us into that forwardness, or as what's the definition you said the Japanese said of your song Yugen?
Of Eugen, yeah. It is
Eugen.
an experience so powerful it can't be explained with words. It can't be explained using language. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's an undefinable experience. Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, with your permission, I'd love to play that song as we part ways, so people
absolutely,
can
yeah. Thank
listen to
you.
that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe the short is probably better for this.
Got it.
That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks
Without
again.
further ado,
Thanks again, DTO. Really appreciate it.
Thank
you so much for
very
having me.
much. You're welcome. Appreciate
Really
you.
grateful. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you too.